Salute, salute, salute. Welcome to the Real Big Fruit Podcast. I am your host, Big Fruit, the Michael Jordan of recording, also known as the voice of the streets, better known as the glue, because I like to keep things together and keep them in a proper perspective. How y'all doing out there on this Tuesday morning? It's an early one. Y'all already know how I do. I get up early. I put my work in before I hit the gig. If I ain't in the booth, I'm outside in the junkyard. But this morning, I'm going to do both. I jumped up early this morning to jump in the booth, and I also got to go jump in that junkyard. I got to go put these legs in today. Yeah, man, your legs is your foundation. You got to do your legs, man. You got to do your legs. I ain't never, ever had no legs. But when I used to hoop real good, I was able to jump out the gym. You know what I'm saying? So I had decent legs, decent calves, but my legs were always out of proportion with my upper body. You know what I'm saying? My upper body was always bigger and heavier than my bottom. You know what I'm saying? My legs. I got to do some legs today. Speaking of legs, rest in peace, Big Nut. I always told y'all, man, Big Nut was crazy, cocked up, but Nut ain't have no legs. You know what I'm saying? And when I decided to do legs this week, I thought about Nut. I said, yo, I got to do legs, man. I thought about Nut. And y'all see the title, right? Cocky versus Nut. So I've been thinking about the big homie. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Nut. I've been thinking about your kid. Also, rest in peace to Cocky. Before I proceed with this Cocky versus Nut, because y'all see the title, I want to say major shout out to Steve-O in a rock to the casket drop. Steve-O from Notion Ave, the OG. Steve-O and St. Laz linked up. So shout out to St. Laz. Steve-O and St. Laz linked up and dropped that in a rock story on the St. Laz channel. Fire. Yo, definitely check that out. So shout out to St. Laz and Steve-O for linking up and finally dropping that in a rock story. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the homies been on my line talking about, yo, you got to do the NA rock story. Yo, you got to do the NA rock story. I'm like, yo, nobody volunteered to step up, but Steve-O stepped up with St. Laz, and that was dope. Then I got people on my line saying, yeah, but Steve-O represented the OGs. You got to represent us. So I said, nah, I can't do that. I got to let that ride. Steve-O and St. Laz did a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? Steve-O took it back. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rennie. You know what I'm saying? Steve-O let it be known. Rennie started that NA rock to the casket drop. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Rennie. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the whole NA rock. You know what I'm saying? I know Steve-O tried to cover everything and everybody. Whoever he forgot, trust and believe, blame it on, you know what I'm saying? Blame it on his mind, not his heart. NA rock to the casket drop. You know how y'all do down there. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't mention some of the people I rip and ran with, man. And you know what I'm saying? A lot of people in the comments was like, yo, man, why he ain't mention B.O.? Shout out to B.O. You know what I'm saying? That's the homie. You know what I'm saying? But listen, one person he didn't mention was the boy Cocky. Rest in peace to Cocky from NA Rock. Cocky was one of them smooth little chubby motherfuckers, talk plenty shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody on the Ave knew him. And I was younger than these dudes. Cocky had me by 2, maybe 3 years. So when I used to come down on NA Rock messing with Gabby G, Mano, Casino Mike, 80 when his name was Gene, when I used to come down there and play with them dudes and be a kid, Cocky was like a big fixture to me. You know what I'm saying? His swag was up. He talked plenty shit. And he wasn't no sucker, son. And his name was Cocky because he had the lazy eye before Big. Rest in peace to B.I.G. Cocky had the cocky lazy eye before Big. You know what I'm saying? And that shit ain't stopping from doing his thing. He still was on the Ave. You know what I'm saying? He still was running down on the broads. He still was in mid taking money. And speaking of Midtown, this is where it goes down. Cocky versus Nut. Like I told you back in LG, you know what I'm saying? We grew up in Midtown. Everybody was in Midtown. You had to go to Midtown when you come out the house in Lafayette Gardens. That's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? But when it came to my generation, Nut was the first in my generation. You know what I'm saying? Nut was out there early, 85, 86 maybe. You know what I'm saying? And I remember in 86 when Midtown was on fire. Everybody was in Midtown. Mayor Koch was in office. Everybody was violating Major Koch. You know what I'm saying? Tearing Midtown up. Everything was a misdemeanor. It was just crazy. You just had the heart to be there. You know what I'm saying? And you had to be there to see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You just had the heart, have the heart to take money. You had to have the heart to be out in that ruckus on 42nd Street, 34th Street. It was crazy. 14th Street, zoo. You know what I'm saying? But when it came to my generation, Nut was one of the first out there. And Nut was doing it real big with Ron K. Rest in peace to Big Ron K. And rest in peace to Nate Cash. Like I told you, Nut was their little man. You know what I'm saying? Nut was out there taking that money. Nut was their little man. They was holding Nut down and Nut was taking it. You know what I'm saying? But Nate Cash and Ron K also had the shorties on Nostrand Ave. Yeah, man. They had the shorties on Nostrand Ave who was out there taking it. And Cocky was one of them. Cocky was one of them. Shout out to the whole clique. So I'm seeing Cocky, Antwop, Chicago, Miami. Who else? I'm trying not to forget nobody, man. That was in Midtown back then. D-Rock, you know what I'm saying? Who else? Man, listen, I'm telling you, man, everybody was in Midtown. I'm telling you, everybody was out there taking money. And it was, I'll never forget, we was out there deep, 86 summer, running around like madmen, tearing the city up. And I think Nut took some money. I'm going to try to play this back as vividly as I can, right? I might have it wrong, but I'm going to try to play the tape back as vividly as I can. I think it was one of them situations where Nut stepped up and Nut took the money. Nut hit the pocket. And when Nut hit the pocket, Nate Cash was holding him down. Now, you already know Nate Cash's royalty down on N.A. Rock. When you say N.A. Rock, you're talking about Nate Cash. You know what I'm saying? So I think when Nut hit the pocket, Nate held him down, but Cocky also, like, you know what I'm saying, held him down, jogged off the scene with him type shit, and then everybody else followed. That's how it was. A motherfucker hit a pocket, get away, the whole 30 wolf pack run behind a nigga. You good? Yeah, all right, let's just go to the next pocket type shit. That's one of them days when Midtown just crazy. So Nut hit the pocket. When Nut jog off and break off and realize what he got, the only person he bust down was Nate Cash. Most people didn't think nothing of it. Cocky wasn't having that shit. Cocky wasn't having that shit. So Cocky told Nut, nah, son, something got to give. So Nut and Cocky got into an argument right then and there on the spot. Cocky stepped to that nigga on the spot. I never forget. I think Cocky had on they both had on sweatsuits. I remember this shit vividly. Too Shorty and Cocky had a baseball cap on. They had on sweatsuits and they had on NBs. It was the New Balance era. They had on the NBs. This 86 summer, going like spring, going into the summer type shit. Or it was summer going to fall because they had the sweatsuits on. And they got to arguing. And now everybody like forget we in Midtown. And it's like we on the block. Everybody circled around these niggas, like basically squared them off in a circle to the point where, you know, Nut ain't no sucker. And see, remember, let me tell you something, son. When I was out there in Midtown with these niggas, I was a young boy, man. Nut had to be at least 18 months older than me. And at this time, Nut got to be about 14. But he's 18 months older than me. Check this shit out, right? Nut about 14, Cocky about 16. Cocky might be 16 at the time. Cocky wasn't no young boy, not to me. Cocky had to be about, I know he was older than Nut, and I know Nut older than me. So they squared off, and niggas put them in a circle so they could shoot a fair one. And Nut stepped up. I just told you, Cocky was older than Nut. Nut stepped up, and Nut squared off with him, and they got it to shake. And let me tell you something, son. This is I seen a couple of fights in Midtown. I seen a couple of fights in the Midtown amongst the homies arguing about the bread. I seen a couple of fights in Midtown. Niggas beating up superheroes fighting back now. They got to fight a fair one with a superhero. I seen a couple of fights in Midtown. I seen my fair share. Never had one personally, not in Midtown. Me, myself, never had one personally. This had to be, not only was this the first fair one, fist fight I ever seen in Midtown amongst the homies, it was the first one I ever seen. Not only was it the first, it was the best. Yo, these two shorties squared off in Midtown, and they knew they had everybody watching. You had the whole NA Rock. You had LG. You had Brownsville, and you had East New York. Yeah, that's how we used to click up in Midtown, son. We run into Brownsville, we run into East New York, we run into a little bit of Fort Greene, and it be popping. A 15-man crew from LG and NA Rock turned into a 40-man crew of Brooklyn. So niggas is watching these two niggas scrap on the block, son, in Midtown. Nut stepped up, and by far, son, not only was it the best fair one I ever saw in Midtown. I mean, I meant to say, not only was it the first fair one I ever saw in Midtown, but it was the best. They squared off two shorties shooting joints, and they was going at it. They was going at it. And Cocky, I told you, Cocky used to talk plenty shit. Cocky is talking so much shit while he fighting Nut, son. Cocky was like Muhammad Ali. Cocky was talking so much shit while he was fighting Nut. And Nut focused on the win. Because Nut used to do the little gym and shit like that when he was short. He throwing the little gloves. Nut was focused on the win. And they were scrapping, son. Nut ain't back down. They were scrapping. I can't say Cocky won. And at the end of the day, Nut still ain't get that nigga no money. Nut ain't get that nigga no money, son. Nah, Nut ain't get that nigga no money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to keep it 100 with you. That day and time, Nut earned a different respect from me. Nut earned a different respect from me when it came to that Midtown shit. And when it came to fighting niggas that was older than us. Yeah, Nut gained a different type of respect from me that day, son. They squared off, boy. They was locking ass, son. Yo, let me tell you something, man. That shit was the talk of Bed-Stuy for years. For years, son. Well, I'm going to say this. That shit was the talk of Bed-Stuy as long as Midtown was popping. You know what I'm saying? Midtown phased out in 92. Yeah, Midtown phased out in 92. The crack era was pumping. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was doing what they do. A lot of niggas done did time. A lot of Midtown niggas was up north in 92 on their way home from those Midtown cases. You know what I'm saying? So Midtown died down in like 92, if you ask me. But motherfuckers talked about that fair one between Cocky and Nut until the day niggas stopped going to Midtown, son. That was definitely one of the best fair ones I ever seen in Midtown, son. And when it come to Cocky, son, because Nut had a little rep in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Nut had a little new name for itself in LG. So when it came to Cocky and the way Cocky ran down on that nigga, pressed that nigga about that buddy, and got it to shaking with him, I'm a front. I ain't gonna front. If anybody used to look at Cocky suspect or sideways because of the lazy eye and him being a jokester and him popping shit, if you looked at him like a clown or some sucker shit like that back then, you gave him his respect that day in Midtown. You gave him that respect that day in Midtown. Cocky was not having that shit, son. Cocky was not having that shit. He was like, nah, nigga, you gonna bust me down on that bread. Nut wasn't having it neither, so they had to fight, son. They had to fight. And let me tell you, son, Cocky versus Nut in Midtown Manhattan over some bread, that shit was a good one, son. And they were shorties, son. That was a good one. 14, 16 years old, scrapping in Midtown, son. For all of Brooklyn to see, all the Brooklyn money takers in Midtown seen that fight that day. So if you've seen that fight that day, definitely tap in the comments and let us know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I got some old Midtown veterans out there who be watching the YouTube channel on the low. Definitely tap me in the comments and tell me if you was in Midtown that day and you seen that film. If you from NA Rock and you from LG, let me know how you feel about that. You know what I'm saying? Bed-Stuy, y'all know how I do. I come through and represent the hood. BK always, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, I come through 6 minutes Dougie and say what it is, say what it ain't. I wanted to pay my respects and pay homage to Cocky and Nut. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to both of them. You know what I'm saying? But like I started things off with a major shout out to Steve-O in St. Laz for knocking down that NA Rock story over at the St. Laz channel. Y'all make sure y'all go check that out. I decided this morning to jump out and show some love to another NA Rock veteran, the boy Cocky. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to Cocky. That was my guy. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to jump on here and show love to NA Rock to the casket drop. Y'all know how I do. And before I go, I'm going to say free Mo Dog. Until next time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy Big Fruit. We keeps it rocking. Salute.